Welcome back to the Impact 1 Million podcast show, From Success to Significance. I'm your host, Shar Moore. Today, we're joined by Alan Little. Alan is a TEDx speaker and 3-time #1 rated coach in Kansas City. He is the founder of A Little Motivation, a coaching company that helps business owners excel in their life and business goals. His first speech was at the Iowa caucuses during the 2016 presidential elections. Alan was the speaking opponent of would-be President Donald J. Trump, and Alan won. This speech can be found on YouTube, and he spoke about making the country great by loving again. In his free time, Alan likes to travel, play pickleball, and visit new vegan restaurants. Alan, welcome to our show.
Thanks for having me. Really grateful to be here. It's just I already felt the energy first hopping on here. I'm like, I'm in a good energy people here. We about to take off like a rocket today.
Absolutely. It's the only way we can impact 1 million people, right? Is if we're living our truth and living in our greatness. So, Alan, dive in. I know that your journey hasn't always been wonderful. So take us back through some of the earlier days and what you were facing.
Yeah. Like if I can even go back towards my childhood, there was a lot of time I've spent. I've always wanted that complete household, right? I always wanted to wake up, it's my real mom, my real dad, and me having breakfast in the morning. And my parents split when I was very young. My mom, she was, great woman, lovely, all that good nature, and my dad, great man, but they just, by the time I was 2 or 3, they already split up. So they had an agreement where I would live with my father for 10 years and then live back with my mother for 10 years. So my childhood would kind of split where I was with my father in Detroit, Michigan, and then I was with my mother in the Chicago area for 10 years or so. And there was struggles, trials and tribulations there during my childhood, but I really feel like I went through like this forge of like, I thrive on community. I love community. I love family. I love things of that nature. So it's like all of the things that I went without during my childhood, I get to create now as an adult. And that's what I'm really grateful for. Like as a child, I'm like, man, like we keep moving. Growing up, with my mother, there was times where we lived in different homeless shelters. We were moving from house to house. Things were kind of rough financially. But now as an adult, I'm like, you know what? Because of that childhood, I now have a home wherever I am. I feel like a home is within me now. It doesn't really confine just to a house, because there's people out there that they're going from house to house, they're moving. And I'm telling them, listen, like no matter where you live, your home is within your spirit, within yourself. And I was able to cultivate it at a very, young age. And so there's so many little things, like even with school, like going through early school, I had a learning disability and I would have to stay after school and, do like these reading tests and or extra reading help, as let's just call it. They'll play Between the Lions for us and they say, hey, break down these words. But at the same time, during school, I was like, I get it, but I feel like the curriculum that I want that resonates with me, like I want to learn more about inspiration. I want to learn more about, like why do I have these emotions and what do I do with them? Like there were so many little things so I feel like I've kind of grew up very much an outsider, but I've now come to learn that a lot of us that are outsiders, we're outsiders because we're creating a new world that can be more encapsulating of all of us.
Yes. Oh, I love that. I talk a lot about T-shirt moments on this show, if you listen to the previous ones. And you said that home is within us. And I feel like that needs to be a T-shirt by Alan Little, right? And I think that these little lines and thought leadership pieces that are gold nuggets for people. Sometimes, I'm sure you've read a ton of books as well and, listen to podcasts and there could be just one line that moves you and moves the needle for you. And there's so much of your childhood and those moments of moving. And at that time as a child, we don't have the maturity and awareness to understand that life sometimes doesn't happen to us. It happens for us. Yeah. And now, right, you can look back and say you're so grateful for the diverse opportunities you had to meet new people when you moved. And my husband and I we moved 17 times with our children internationally with work and travel, and lived in different countries for 8 years when they were growing up. And at the time there was grumblings, oh, I've got to leave my friends, my kids would say. And now they look back and they're so grateful. They're so worldly. They're so open. They speak languages. They've got friends from all over the world. Talk to me, Alan, about the people what's the mindset that's going through when people love to stay in victim mode? Some people could have come out of your journey and gone completely the other way.
You know what's interesting? There's a friend of mine who was a friend of mine during childhood. We grew up in the same city, same school, about the same neighborhood. And when I started my life coaching journey, when I became more big into life coaching, he reached out to me and said, hey, man, what's up? Could you talk to me as life coaching? And I'm like, oh, my goodness, bro, we ain't talked since childhood. How's things going? He's like, let's talk about life coaching. And I hop on the phone with him, and he's actually on the run. And he was actually, what was it? He was the city's most wanted criminal during that month. And he's like, I'm in a whole different state. I'm on the run from the law. And he just got tied up with the wrong people and everything. And he's like, man, I'm trying to find my way out, man. Can you help me out with this? And there was a part of me that was like, this guy grew up in the same neighborhood as me. We were we weren't best friends, but we were like aware of each other. We were very, very similar. And we worked, I talked to him for a couple of times. And I think that the people that are in those circumstances that are challenging, what I've come to find is that the circumstances we're in, think of them as just an egg. And we can grow and develop out of that egg however we choose, because life will put us in like this bubble, in this egg, in this circumstance. And who we create ourselves to get out of that egg, out of that bubble, is really the prize. It's like these birds, like they peck their ways out of the egg, right? And they come out with a strong enough neck to hold his neck up as it flies, And so so I'm like, listen, man, like, don't think that life is against you. Like you said, life is for you. And your mess is actually someday going to become your message.
Yeah.
That's another big thing. The biggest message. A lot of people say, what is the theme of my life, right? What is the theme of our lives? What did you struggle with the most in your life? That will tend to be the greatest gift you have to give it to others. And that's a huge, huge thing. So people that are in that, that victim state or anything, I tell them, like, listen, you are a powerful creator. And if you're creating a circumstance, if you're creating it to the point where you're a victim, then you're going to experience that. But you can use the same circumstance to create, like, what I'm in right now, I created this and I can create my way out of this. Absolutely. Whether we created it mentally, whether we created it spiritually, no matter what, God doesn't make mistakes.
That's it. And so well said. I hope, friends, if you're listening and you're not driving, that you're writing this down, because your mess is your message. So Alan and I definitely invite you all to have a look at your mess, any part of your life that you're going through right now, and take note of it and look through it. Actually pick it apart like a bowl of spaghetti. It might be messy right now, but somewhere in there is a little note waiting for you to find it. That message is what you need. And until you find that message, life is going to stay messy. So look through it, go through the work, go through that spaghetti bowl, put it everywhere, all over the walls, wherever you need to, figuratively, of course. But, in there is that message. And I think when you find it, what was it like for you, Alan, when you found your message, when you realized, my goodness, this is my calling. This is why I'm here, to create impact. This is my why.
Woo, don't get me started, man. When I found that, when I discovered that, it was first things first, I noticed was how immediately good I felt that I have a reason to live. I have a reason to be here, right? I am here to exist as Alan, enjoying his life. And because, like, you mentioned earlier about me speaking against Trump. There's a whole story behind that. I was in a cornfield in Iowa, and I'm like, God, if you're real, I need proof, right? I had this corporate sales job. And the great thing about it was they paid me a lot of money. The thing that was to my detriment was that they paid me a lot of money. And they paid me just enough for me not to focus on what my dream was. Because for me to pursue that dream, to pursue what I really want to do, I had to risk security. I had to risk being able to pay the bills, provide, right? And that was just such a scary thing for me. And then once I realized, like, you know what, like, no matter what's the point of being secure if the space I'm secure in, I'm not happy, I'm not fulfilled?
Yes.
It's like we might as well just be secure and just hide in the closet all day, you know? And so after that cornfield talk, someone reached out to me. I met them, you know, they reached out over Twitter, said, I'd love to connect with you. And after like 2-3 minutes, they're like, listen, you're very inspirational. I'd love to connect you with, you know, Dr. Ben Carson. You know, he's running for president. And I was like, wow, this is something. Because this is a month after I said, God, if you're real, show me proof and show me what am I here for.
Wow.
Right? And then so after connecting with Ben Carson, you know, we talked for a little bit. And I say, hey, man, is this whole spirituality stuff real? Is this whole greatness real? And he's like, you found the secret to success. And when he said that, I was like, okay, there's something more to this. 2 weeks go by, I reach out to say thank you. And then she asked me to speak for the Iowa caucuses. And she didn't tell me that there was 500 people in the audience. She didn't tell me that my opponent would be Donald Trump himself, right? But all that I went there on was, you know what? I'm just trusting the inspiration every step of the way. I don't know step 3 or 4. But I do know step 2, step 1. I do know the next step. And when we follow just the next step and nothing else, it leads us these breadcrumbs to realities we couldn't even imagine.
Oh my goodness, there's so much I want to say about that. Firstly, well done. Like I need to go find that talk. I had a quick look, but I need to go back and watch that talk that you did. Trust, you know, trust is such a big thing that people often struggle with. And I know there's, you know, friends, you're listening, you've all experienced something and a time in life where you haven't trusted fully. And sometimes we trust the voices of others in our head, be it generational voices or people in our current life that we've called in. We've called everyone in our life that's there right now, and we may be giving our power away and trusting. And I remember a story, Alan, you may have heard, where a little boy is on a plane and he goes up to meet the pilot, and it's pitch black and they're flying a really long haul flight. Let's say it from my place of Gold Coast, Australia, to where you are in Kansas. And the little boy says, but how can you see that we're going to end up in Kansas? Because it's so dark and the light's only shining like 100 meters. And the pilot said, I just trust that when I reach the end of this part of the light, that the light will shine the next part of my journey. And I know when we land, we'll land in Kansas City. And it's so true in life. And where do you think the wheels have fallen off, Alan, where people have set a path, but then the world, you know, life is going to be life, things are going to happen, it knocks us, and then we just go off course, and then we can't find our way back? Where do you think the wheels have fallen off, where people have lost trust?
Here, oh, this is good. I just had this epiphany, okay? Whenever we lock up our happiness in a particular circumstance or expectation to happen, our happiness is now a gamble. We cannot place our joy in something happening. I'm happy if this happens. I'm happy if that happens. Every time you do that, you're putting your joy on the other side of a particular circumstance, when circumstances doesn't matter. Only our state of being matters. If you want the best circumstances to happen, then place your joy before the circumstance. Because whether the circumstance happens or not, you'll still be joyful. You'll still be happy. This guy asked me, Alan, what are your future goals in life? What is your goals? I'm like, you know what? My greatest goal in life is to be as joyful tomorrow as I am right now. I'm excited. I'm happy. I love my life right now. I'm happy right now. And then get this, then the joy creates the ideal circumstances that reflects that joy, reflects that happiness. Right. So once we align with our state of being that we prefer, be that first, right? In any way, it could be meditation, it could be singing. Some people is dancing. I mean, someone will say, hey, Alan, you know, how do I experience at least inner peace, right? How do I do this? How do I do that? Well, here's the first step. Quiet your mind. You said figure out inner peace.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to figure it out.
It's not a math equation.
It's not. Quiet your mind, let your heart rise, and let the intuition guide you. right? And that's one thing I do a lot, in my coaching is I will help people let the intuition guide them, let their heart sing, let them dance, let it come out, because I strongly believe that we are all built to succeed. We're born to succeed. We figure out how to fail.
Yeah, totally. Oh, I love that. Mic drop moment again. Love it. T-shirt moment. I love that. So you talk about providing an untethered income for all.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to dive deeper into this because I feel we're in the media industry. So we publish magazines and books, and I have a TV talk show, and we profile a lot of people. And it's fascinating to me that I can have two conversations literally back to back with people. We all have the same amount of hours, resources. There's an abundance of wealth out there to draw into us. And yet two people, one will say, I'll find a way to invest in being in this, that impact book we're launching in New York. I was telling you briefly before, with 100 thought leaders. One will say, I'll find a way. I have to be in this. And the other one will say, I can't find the money.
Yeah.
So how is it that two people of similar industry somewhere around the world can have such different mindsets? And what's your goal to have this untethered income for all, Alan?
Yeah, so it's one thing that I've found. Okay, let's start with the foundational principle of the untethered income. Let's look at nature, right? When you walk into a balanced natural habitat like a jungle, do you see that monkey starving, hungry for a banana? Do you see a monkey wondering if it's going to be able to, take a stick and play with it? Do you see a mother monkey, having to pay bills to provide for? No, nature provides everything abundantly, right? Now there could be some, monkeys that want to go out there and build more, so they'll build some assets. Cool, because that's animals. Now, in regards to human beings, in regards to us, the things we value the most in life are actually free. I'll give you a clue or a hint. Oxygen. It's freely given. It's there. I mean, there are some people out there that are doing some stuff to the rainforest and everything that's affecting that, but we'll have that conversation another time. The sunshine, right? It's freely given. Things in nature are already abundant. It is human beings that makes it scarce and does say, oh, it has value now because it's scarce. No. Even diamonds. You can look it up on YouTube. The Beers company found diamonds. They're by abundance, and they made it scarce, and they sell it, and they say diamonds. They this whole business on making it scarce. One of the greatest illusions of human beings is the idea that scarcity exists. Scarcity does not exist. We create scarcity. So it starts with the foundational principle that we are all abundant beings, and there's more than enough to go around. What the Untethered Income Project is for is the idea is that everyone, right? Everyone can have an untethered income that is enough to cover at least 3 times the average monthly rent in their country. So in our country, $4,000, right? On average, $4,000. This right here eliminates survival. So many people spend the first part of their lives getting out of survival, right? I got to find a job. I got to feed my kids. I got to do all of these things. When people are spending time surviving, they're deviating themselves from thriving and creating their life.
Yeah, so true.
And so the idea is that with the untethered income, they can go straight to creation, straight to creating their life. And here's the other thing we found, okay? When people are creating their life, they connect with their purpose, they connect with their calling, and then the thing they do adds value onto others to the point where, if it does make money, they don't even need the untethered income anymore. They can relinquish it, right? And then somebody says, well, what if you give someone money and they just don't do anything all day, or they just wasting all of this stuff? Well, alongside the untethered income, there's also a personal development where every year they will go through a personal development seminar of different choices. We will have available. They can have some available as well. And then also they would have a coach that'll work with them, like a life coach that'll hold them kind of accountable to their frequency, to their energy. Are they really living their life? And it's okay, if they want to, like, they're going to have no obligations to work, or you have none of that. The main focus is, are you happy? Are you enjoying? your life. We spend so much time measuring GDP, capital, profits, all of that stuff. What about the wealth of people's happiness? What about the wealth of people's mindset, their mental wellness, their emotional wellness? If we prioritized the benefit of people's emotions and hearts and getting clear and connected with their love inside of them, as much as we prioritize money, we will have a very, very, very happy economy. And the irony is that when the economy is happy, when people are joyful, when people are living in their purpose, everything thrives.
Yes.
Everything goes up.
Yes. It's a vibration, and monks have been measured before with their frequency, and they radiate at a totally different level to us because they're calm, they're in their own state, they're in peace. And you're right. If we, imagine if we had a world where we woke up every day and like we have KPIs in business, imagine if we had that on ourselves and we as a group, we're measuring each other. What's your happiness? How much time did you take for yourself? Right. And many of us would probably fail our KPIs and get fired from our own life. But yes. Imagine if we were that conscious. You talk a lot about raising the consciousness of the planet. Friends, I invite you all to listen to what Alan said today and really look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself these honest questions. It takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to raise a human being, and certainly an entrepreneur. And having a life coach, a business coach, a mentor, a trainer, someone in your corner, in your ear, holding a mirror and guiding you through those limiting beliefs potentially is going to help you find your authentic self. Alan, I want to dive in the last few minutes here around your thoughts around this. So in the industry that we're in, we have a very humble media brand in the sense that we don't attract ego-driven people to say, Shar, I want to be in that impact book. I want to be in Times Square. I want to be the first at the press conference. I want to stand beside the impact makers from all over the world. There's no ego in these conversations. These people we're finding, they're like, sometimes I feel like rare hen's teeth all over the world that are saying, I want to be part of this because I'm a servant leader. I've gone from success to significance. I know by raising my profile, I can help more people with the work I do, and therefore I want to be one of the 100. They've found their authentic self and they're so comfortable in their own skin, and it doesn't come from ego. It's a very humble place. Alan, why do you feel that people don't want to find or don't know, they don't take the time to find their authentic self? Do you feel as a community they've been judged for too long on Facebook or social media, and they don't want to put themselves in the light because someone's going to snip them down? What are your thoughts?
Well, they say that the business of adulthood is healing our childhood. And as children, a lot of times when we do something that's in alignment with our authentic self, we get scolded, we get made wrong, we get told that's not okay. And so we learn how to master getting love, even if it's in an inauthentic way.
Right.
I've noticed that my father likes it more when I'm quiet and I pay attention and I do what he says. So I'm going to do just that because I rather be loved by my father than be authentic, because whenever I'm authentic, I get in trouble, I get scolded. And so people go into adulthood with the same mentality. They feel like, yeah, that sounds good and everything, but I'm not going to get that love, right? And that love can come through any form. That love can be through the form of money, through the form of praise, through the form of acknowledgement and acceptance. You see, so whenever someone's dealing with that, just hiding themselves or being inauthentic, it takes really reflecting on, when did we decide that we have to abandon ourselves to be accepted?
Yes. Wow. And there'll be a moment for all of us that we can probably tell straight away when we're asked that question. And then it's doing the work. And that's the part that I feel some people, they prefer to stay in the pain rather than do the work, because there is work in work, right? It takes work to do it. It takes time. It takes resources. But by not doing it, I often think about an unwrapped gift. We're all unwrapped presents until we find out why we're here, what we're here for, what's our purpose in life. I feel that's the day that we unwrapped our gift. And I often think about people that always People pleasers. They're constantly allowing other people to speak for them, and they're living in that childhood of, I'll do that because that's what someone else's expectations of me is, therefore I need to play that role throughout my adulthood. And when they pass away, it's like this beautiful, big, shiny gift that's sitting under a tree unwrapped. And because those gifts were given to each of us. And there is, when someone says about competition, I'm like, there is no competition to you. There is no competition to me. And it's all about being our authentic self, because we are the first of us. And the world hasn't met us yet until we stand up, unwrap our gift, and pop out like a jack in the box and go, here I am, and then talk to me about community, because I know that you would have absolutely experienced this in your life, of having the right community of people around you. How important is community for you?
Oh, it is so, so important. I feel like for me, first off, okay, a lot of us, our community is based on geography rather than like-mindedness or like frequency. And so we have this community that we kind of just grew up with. They're kind of just there because they're near us. And that can be okay to a degree, but I challenge people to, at least on a bi-monthly basis, like, you know what new friends I can add that's more like my frequency. Go out there, go to networking events. And what's one of the best places to meet new people that can be more like your community is go to personal development events that resonates with you. Personal development events that resonate with you. And just because people there are into self-growth. People that are into self-growth are usually open to meeting new people, because that's a part of self-growth. So I always say to people that that kind of feels like they don't have a community, go out there and create it. Get off the couch.
That'd help.
and you can even there's been so many different events I've gone to, and there would be like a sharing circle, and I'm like, hey everyone, glad to be here. Honestly, I need more friends in my life. Love to connect with you. And just that vulnerability. Oh, there's another big thing. If you find a thing where you don't feel as connected with people, no matter how vulnerable they are with you, you won't feel connected with them unless you're vulnerable with them.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you want to feel connected with other people, show up, be vulnerable, be authentic. And then you can have people in your life that likes you for you, not for the mask that was created to get love as a child, but be authentic. And you'll, for example, when I opened up and I was like, you know what? I am going to be vegan. I love vegan food. I don't want to eat meat anymore. All of this stuff. And I live in Kansas City, the barbecue capital of the world. At least they say it's the barbecue capital of the world. I'm vegan. And yeah, I lost a couple of barbecue friends, but no, I didn't really lose any friends.
Barbecue tofu, come on.
Yeah, exactly. Come on. But at the same time, though, those that resonate with what I resonate in being vegan, I found that there's that energetic connection. Like, oh, okay, there's something we understand with each other.
Yeah.
It's a huge thing.
Love that, Alan. Oh, it's been such a pleasure speaking with you today. I'm sure that people are going to want to reach out to you. What's the best way that they can find you online?
Instagram, Allen, ALLEN JBIG, all one word. Just Instagram, Allen J Big.
Okay.
And then also they can, if they plug into Google like Alan Little motivation, a bunch of stuff comes up there as well. My YouTube with the TED Talk on there, the Trump talk against Trump, everything's right there as well. But first and foremost, I'll say Instagram is probably where I've been active. Alan J Big.
Love it. And Alan, any final words as we wrap up today? What would you like to say to our friends listening?
What I would definitely say is the love that you are craving most in your life can be sourced by looking into the mirror and saying, I am so worthy of love that I'm going to go out and give it unconditionally to others abundantly. And as you give this love unconditionally to others, you will find that it will return unconditionally to you. The best way to love others unconditionally is to be yourself authentically and unconditionally, and share the gift of who you are with everyone you meet.
Oh my goodness. What a beautiful way to end this show. Alan Little, you have been an absolute pleasure to speak with today. Thank you so much for showing up 110%.
I receive all of that, and thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate being here.